There is a unique opportunity right now for people who have expertise and experience plus curiosity to take advantage of these tools and build amazing, beautiful things.
Hi, I'm Jayson Manship, host of Authentic and Agentic, presented by TechPoint. Every week on this show, we break down what's happening in AI and what it means for how we work, lead, and live. Join me for a human-focused conversation that keeps you ahead of the curve. This is the Authentic and Agentic podcast on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. Hey friends, Jayson Manship here from Authentic and Agentic. This is the podcast where we talk about AI, but we look at it through the world of humans. We're trying to understand what's coming, what's happening, and how it impacts each and every one of us. And so every week I like to start the show with a news segment. I cover a couple stories about AI, and I think this week's pretty interesting. So the first story I want to talk about, Anthropic, the people that make Claude, just dropped something last week called Claude Design. And guys, this is not a design tool. This is a builder tool that I think is disguised as a design tool. So what does it do? You describe something and it goes and builds it. You iterate, you keep going back, but it keeps the context of your conversation. And so this is not a write me something. This is a build this with me tool. Okay. And it's visual, it's design. And so think about things like, I need to build a landing page for something, or I need to create a pitch deck, or I need to create a quoting tool for my sales team, right? Claude now generates it, structures it, refines it, and keeps your brand consistent automatically through that process. So, I mean, think about what it used to look like. You'd have your idea, hey, we need to come up with a new web app basically to do quotes for sales, right? We'd have a sit-down meeting. We'd talk about what it's going to look like, how all the bits and pieces come together. We'd sit down with the designer and then a developer. We'd have meetings. It would take weeks to do stuff like this. Now, the sales manager can literally say, hey, I need a new working version of this. I need a new way to create a sales tool for my sales team. Feeds all that into Claude, in this case, Claude Design, and boom, they got it. It's moving, one sitting. Guys, it really compresses ideation, the idea stage, to execution. And I think that's where a lot of businesses stall right now. When I talk to people every day, it's about, man, I have all these great ideas. I just don't have the capacity or the time to do it. And I think Anthropic is realizing that. This is why I'm spending more and more of my time every day in Anthropic inside of Claude. They've got Claude Cowork, they've got Claude Code, and now they've got Claude Design. Anthropic is saying, look, we're not trying to win the chatbot wars. There's a bunch of great chatbots out there. I have loved ChatGPT for years. Anthropic is betting on which of the tools, which of these LLMs, these AI tools helps you build the fastest. And right now, for me, that's Claude. I think we're moving away, guys, from an assistant or a chatbot to a builder. And I think that's a really big deal. Again, I don't think Claude Design is about design. I think it's about turning operators into builders. So instead of chatting with the AI, you build stuff with AI. And I think that's the real unlock that Claude Design helps bring, especially with Claude Cowork. So go check it out. If I could give you one piece of advice, go download Claude, pay the $20 and try it. My second story this week is about, this one's wild, really. A humanoid robot just beat the human half marathon record. Okay. This is a humanoid robot. So it's got legs. It's not a car. It's not it doesn't roll. This is a running robot, right? The humanoid style robots with bipod legs. And they're testing them, right? They're putting them out on these half marathon courses to just see how technology is improving. And for the first time ever, the robot beat the human half marathon record. And honestly, it wasn't even close. It destroyed the record. The humanoid record, or the human record, was 57 minutes, somewhere in that range. And the robot did it in 50. So 13.1 miles in 50 minutes. Just let that sit for a second, right? A robot ran 13.1 miles faster than the fastest human ever. And here's why I think this matters. So they've been doing this for a while, trying to figure out how to increase performance and all that. Last year, most of the robots could barely finish, right? The technology was not there for these robots to get there. This year, they win and they blow it away. And I think this is why I bring this story up and why I'm watching stories like this. This has nothing to do with running. This has to do with machines, right? The machines aren't getting tired. They're not slowing down. They don't have bad days. And if you think about it, guys, we've already lost to machines in chess and content and data and some of these places. And when I say lost, I mean, we use them for these purposes, but I mean, think about the whole chess situation, right? I think it's called Big Blue, the IBM machine, where it would compete against Kasparov or whoever it was on playing chess to see if a machine could be better. Well, they are, right? They have infinite knowledge and infinite retention. We're close to it, I should say. So now when we talk about physical performance, I think that's kind of the next frontier of this. And if you're watching any of the news about the Tesla Optimus bots or any other stuff coming out, like that's what people are paying attention to. And think about that for business implications. If robots can run and they can balance and they can navigate by themselves, they can probably deliver stuff. They can probably carry things. They can probably build. Guys, in some places, they're going to be able to replace labor. And I think this is the moment where AI leaves the screen and it starts to enter the real world. These folks building these robots to run marathons are using that and learning from that to build things that can actually carry and deliver and work in the real world. And it's going to come faster than any of us are ready for. And I think it's a blessing and a curse, right? This is the future ahead and we need to be prepared for it. The third story I have for you today is about my trip last week. So I was in Memphis last week. I recorded the intro and outro to the podcast while I was in Memphis. I was there keynoting at a restoration summit. So this is CEOs and owners of restoration companies. So you have a flood or fire damage or something like that. These are the companies that come in and like fix it and clean it all up. They work for residential, they work for apartments, they work for big commercial buildings, universities, you name it. And so these are the companies that come in and fix all of this stuff and get it back to working order, restoration companies. And so I'm in the room. I ask the whole room of CEOs and owners, who here is using AI? And almost every single hand went up. I was actually pretty surprised by that. Like that was really neat to see. So as I dug in deeper, I said, how are you using it? What are you doing? And here's what I learned. They're using ChatGPT, they're using Gemini, they're using Grok, they're using Copilot, they're using all the various tools, but almost every single one of them was using them in chat mode. They're just literally chatting with ChatGPT or Gemini. They're asking it questions, right? Which I imagine many of you listening to this podcast are doing the same thing. So I asked them this question. Okay, now who of you in the room are building with this? Are building automations, using agents, like taking this to the next level? And almost no hands went up. Like I think maybe one or two. That right there is the gap. I'm in a room with CEOs and owners at companies that are doing really manual things, right? Replacing drywall and fixing carpet and doing all these things. And they're using ChatGPT. They have heard from their peers that I need to be using AI, but they're not taking it to that next step. And that right there is the chasm. That is the gap. That is the piece where if you can cross it, you will win. Most companies are asking questions. Most people are using ChatGPT to help write emails or respond to customers. Most people are dabbling. The next level, guys, is use AI to build things, to run workflows, to connect systems, to replace repetitive work. That's where it really matters. So instead of, hey, ChatGPT, can you help me write this email? It needs to be, hey, Claude, run this process. And the Claude or the ChatGPTs are interchangeable in these moments, right? It doesn't matter which tool you use. It matters how you use the tool. And so let's play this out. A lead comes into your website. AI instantly qualifies the lead, updates the CRM, schedules a follow-up, or schedules the job with the team, right? And then sends a follow-up email. Like no human involved, 5 steps, fully automated. That is what you need to be using AI to do. And I think that is the biggest opportunity. The gap between AI users and AI builders, that's where the opportunity is. So I would challenge each and every one of you to do that. I started the conversation today with go get Claude. Go download Claude. One of the practical things they asked me at this event was, well, how do I do that? I think the answer is go get Claude, download it, pay the $20 a month, install it on your computer and start using it. Click on the ideas tab and it'll give you a whole bunch of ideas that you can do. And it just goes. And it is wild if you haven't done it. So please, please, please do that. We're still early in this builder phase, but not for long. Everybody's starting to figure this out. 6 months ago, when I would ask people in this kind of an audience, who here is using AI, less than half the hands went up. Now they're all up. I think 6 months from now, when I'm in a meeting and I ask who's building with AI, we're going to be seeing the same thing. So do not get left behind. Let's get moving, folks. And honestly, like that's why I'm really excited about today's conversation. I'm sitting down with a friend, Adam Brown, today. Adam is one of the smartest guys in the room. I'll give a little bit bigger bio on him on the other side of the break, but he sees this firsthand. So Adam comes from the power industry, which is a very traditional industry, very blue collar, very proven processes and models. And Adam brings perspective, historical perspective, but a forward-looking bend, right? He is building with AI, and you're going to hear it firsthand in this interview. So he is right in the middle of this shift. He is the guy that is jumping over the chasm and taking it to the next level. And so, guys, if you're listening to this show, as you're listening to Adam, I want you to think about, like, how do I use AI? And maybe reshift that to what could I build if I knew what I was doing, or if I tried a little harder, or if I dug a little deeper, or if I installed some stuff and tried to play with it a little harder. I can promise you, Adam and I are very wired very similarly. We just play with stuff. We just get our hands dirty, right? And that's the world of AI right now, is go in there and start building something. We're going to take a quick sponsor break. Huge thanks to the show sponsors, TechPoint, our presenting sponsor, and IWU, Indiana Wesleyan. We'll play a couple quick sponsor breaks for that, and we'll come back with my interview with Adam Brown. AI isn't just changing jobs, it's changing who gets hired. TechPoint's new brief, AI amplifies the need to address the experience gap, shows how AI is changing entry-level jobs, and how employers can take advantage of this moment. Download the brief and find out ways to get involved at techpoint.org/AI gap. AI is transforming every industry, and Indiana Wesleyan University is preparing professionals to lead that change. IWU offers a Master of Science in AI and Data Analytics, a graduate certificate in AI Business Innovation, and an Applied AI Analytics concentration, all designed for working adults. Flexible, online, Christ-centered, and grounded in biblical ethics. Discover how IWU can help you find the way forward. Visit indwes.edu. Thank you again to TechPoint and to Indiana Wesleyan for the support of this show. It literally wouldn't be possible without you guys, and so really sincerely appreciate that. I was bummed. I was out of town last week. I went to that speaking engagement in Memphis, which was really cool, and I'm really glad I did it. It was an awesome opportunity, but I couldn't be in two places at the same time. TechPoint does this AI Innovation Network, which is basically a group of meetups around the area. And the one on the 15th, while I was out of town, was at IWU's campus. And I didn't get a chance to go to it, but I heard great things. And so check that out if you get a chance. Go to Indiana AI Innovation Network powered by TechPoint. Go look that up on their website and see when the next ones are, because this is something they do pretty regularly, and it's a really cool experience to be in the room with other people that are talking about AI. And so that's a lot of fun. So thank you again to both of those sponsors. I am going to be at the Mira Awards this weekend. So on the 24th, the annual Mira Awards, this is the 27th annual Mira Awards. This year it's in Carmel at the Palladium. It's not a seated dinner. It's like a theater style setup. Tickets are, I think, still available at techpoint.org. Go there, check it out. Mira Awards. If you're not familiar, this is like the Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys for the Indiana tech community. So this is the who's who in the zoo coming together and celebrating Indiana innovation and technology. And TechPoint puts this on. It's the coolest event. It's so fun. It's so fun to be a part of. This year, they've asked me to come behind the scenes, behind the stage, and interview the winners. So as the winners are announced, they're going to go on stage, give their acceptance speech, come off stage, and I will interview them to learn more about how they're running, how they're functioning, how AI fits into their world. It's just going to be a really cool opportunity to get down and talk to some of the smartest people in the room, right, that are building the coolest, neatest things in Indiana. And so we're going to have some clips from that in future episodes, and hopefully we can sit down and talk to some of these winners that are really leaning into AI in a big way. So really grateful again to both TechPoint and Indiana Wesleyan for supporting the show. Thank you all very much. Now I want to kind of turn my attention to today's interview. Adam and I are good friends. We met through our kids, actually. Our kids are bestest buds. My son, Simon, plays Fortnite regularly with his two boys. He has three boys, two of which are around Simon's age. They go to school together. They're great friends. It's just a really cool thing. My daughter and his daughter are best friends in the same class at school, love volleyball, hang out together all the time. And so Adam and his wife, Sarah, have become really good friends of Amanda and I's, and we spend a lot of time together. And so as I've gotten to know Adam over time, you're going to get to know him like in a crash course, and you're going to find him to be one of the most fascinating people because he is so smart and he moves so fast. But he has this like historical perspective, right? I love getting into deep philosophical conversations with him about history and old school politics and some of that sort of stuff. But Adam comes from the world of power. He worked at a pretty large power company, knows that world pretty intimately, and he started really at the ground floor. I'll wait for him to tell you about that when he does his own kind of intro and self-story here. But take his brain and how fast it moves and how he's kind of preparing for the next step and apply that to the world of power. And you're going to see in this interview, in this conversation, how maybe you should be thinking about the world that you're in, right? Legacy, old school, tried and true, blue collar meets what if? Like, well, why can't I do that? And I think that's what you're going to hear from Adam in this interview, in this conversation. So folks, buckle up. This is a fun one. Enjoy this conversation with Adam Brown. Adam Brown, welcome to the Authentic and Agentic podcast. Glad to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jayson. Appreciate it.
So you and I met through our kids, really.
Yeah.
They're Pokemon players / Fortnite players / buddies. And so they go to school together, and that's really where we met. So I know I've followed your career kind of remotely, but now we're going to have a chance to deep dive a little here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, my friend. Thank you.
It's going to be fun. So you run a company called Gridworks. Let's talk a little bit about your backstory and how you got to that point, and then I need to know what the S and S Gridworks stands for.
Yeah, awesome. So Adam Brown, right now I'm leading S Gridworks, which is a company I just founded. But prior to that, I spent 20 years in the power industry. So I started my career in power, cleaning boilers in coal-fired power plants as a laborer. So traveling the country, blowing up slag in boilers with explosives and high-pressure water, right?
Whoa.
And yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was a fun job.
Okay.
Got to eat, right?
That's real. That's real.
Times were tough, so had to go where the work was. But
Okay.
I did that for a few years and fell in love with power plants. Absolutely, the
How
technology.
does one fall in love with power plants?
Well, you should go to one first.
Okay.
It's this amazing amalgamation of all of the technology and the big moving pumps and motors and turbines, and to be there and to be a part of it was just super interesting to me. And I wanted to understand how they worked, right?
Okay.
I just fell in love. And so my dream in life for several years was to be a control room operator at a power plant. That was kind of the pinnacle of career dreams for me, because those were the smartest people I'd ever met, right? They were super fascinating, amazing people. So I did that for a few years, clean boilers. And then as my wife was going into grad school, I decided that we were going to settle down and get married, and I needed to get off the road, right? And so I went to work for Dayton Power and Light as a outage planner at a coal-fired power plant. So I was lucky enough to fake my way into a role that I was grossly unqualified for, which is kind of the story of my career.
Love it.
But and in doing so, I was able to keep working in power, right? To learn the equipment, to learn how it works and how we generate power. And so I did that for several years, working for Dayton Power and Light, which was purchased by the AES Corporation in 2011. And when AES bought us, it was the most amazing thing that ever happened to me, because it opened me up to an entire world, literally an entire world of different generation technologies and transmission and distribution businesses and things I'd never been a part of. And so when AES bought us in 2011, I went to work for the corporation doing rotating equipment engineering. So steam turbines, generators, big things that spin, vibration analysis. That's kind of my technical background. That's what I really love.
Yeah.
And so traveled around the world working on, I had opportunities to work in Brazil, Panama, Northern Ireland, been all over the world with AES. And it was a great opportunity. So all in asset management, reliability engineering, and generation. And then in 2019, I was asked to come to our utilities business, where I led asset management for Indianapolis Power and Light and Dayton Power and Light. Those were the two primary, AES Indiana and AES Ohio is the rebranded names.
Sure.
But so I did that for 4 years and Fell in love again with the transmission and distribution side of the business, the delivery side of the equation. I spent my entire career working on supply. And so an opportunity to come in and learn the delivery side of the business was amazing. And did that for 4 years. And then I went and I left AES and joined a software company, a Canadian software company called Engineered Intelligence, where I was CEO for a year and a half. And just recently exited, left that business. Their Engineered Intelligence is doing awesome things. They're doing a great job right now. A lot of the things that we're talking about are things that we were working on at Engineered Intelligence. So super, super interesting software. Everyone should check it out if you get a chance. But now I'm working for myself with Gridworks. So I decided to start a consultancy where I'm focused on improving the customer's experience that they feel in utilities by helping utilities to be more reliable and to modernize effectively, right? And there's lots of problems in the power industry. Everybody knows this. The power industry is broken. It is. And we've got to admit it. Not that I'm an alcoholic or anything, but in every 12-step program, all of them, they begin, the step one is admitting that you have a problem, right? And then they also add and admitting that you're helpless to fix it without the assistance of a higher power, right? That's the first step. And so that's where I see us right now in the utility industry.
That we have a problem in the power industry.
And we have to admit it.
Can you dig deeper there for our audience? What does that mean?
Yeah. So if we think about the arc of technology and things that have been applied to power, we've invested hundreds of billions of dollars in grid modernization, new technologies, new sensors, new transformers, new data streams, and new ways of providing power, but reliability has stayed flat or actually gotten worse. So there's two fundamental ways to think about reliability in the power industry. One is what we call major event day reliability.
That's like when everybody kicks their air conditioning on for the first time in a season? Or okay.
Well, when a hurricane happens.
Sure, that makes sense.
So right now, in 2024, the average U.S. consumer on average experienced 11 hours of power outage in the United States.
Throughout the year 2024.
Yes,
over the course of that, about
year.
11 hours of downtime for an average user.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's double what it was in 2014.
Okay.
And so that includes storms, that includes hurricanes, that includes anything that would happen, blizzards, et cetera, right? Now, utilities often will exclude those days from the reliability reporting because they're considered major event days. But even if we correct for weather, even if we correct for major event days and exclude that from our reliability metrics, we're still staying flat. We're not improving. So we've spent hundreds of billions of dollars on new technology, and things are not getting better for the actual customer. And so why is that? What is the problem? And that's the problem that I want to solve at Gridworks.
Okay. So we're gonna come back to the S and S Gridworks because I still want to dig into that. I'm curious on that part. But how does one solve that problem? I guess I don't understand if these big companies, these some cases $100 billion companies are trying to solve this problem. What are they missing? Why is this not being addressed? Are they just focused on the wrong things?
Yeah, I think that we're solving problems and we're applying technology, but we're not fixing the fundamental underlying business model that drives it. We're not fixing the incentives, and we're not fixing the way that we use those technologies.
Okay.
So the way that I think about it is the electric grid was designed literally by Thomas Edison in the late 1800s, right? And it was designed as a kind of hub and spoke style system where you have large generators and one-way feeds of power from a single generator out to the people, right? And so what's happened is we have solar, we have distributed energy, all kinds of different distributed energy resources added to the grid. We have data centers, these huge single point
we
loads.
talk about that a little bit on this show.
Absolutely. And we should. I think they're amazing.
Yeah.
I am pro data center.
Well, we're going to unpack that here
officially,
shortly, I'm sure.
But it was designed as this hub and spoke style system, and it's evolved way past that. And we still operate the grid as if it is the hub and spoke style system where you have the entire operational and control regime is designed around radial feeds, hub and spoke style architecture, when in reality it is a network. It's a networked system with tons of ties. The average circuit has, I think in Indiana, has around 3 ties or 3 connections to another circuit, right? So it's no longer a one-way feed. It's a networked system. It's a mesh network of nodes and edges, just like in the data centers and in computers.
The network, yeah.
And we should run it. We should run it as such. We should run it as it is, and not as a power system from the 1800s. And so,
is that command and control? Is that just because I'm not trying to put you in a spot where you can't talk about some of this stuff, but is that because the local power companies control the throughputs, or how? I guess I just don't even understand how all that works.
Yeah, it is. So what I'm proposing is not a fundamental change to the market of power. Right.
Okay.
What I'm proposing is changing the way that we deliver power to customers by taking full advantage of all the technologies that we now have, right? So we have things like reclosers that we've installed.
What's a recloser?
So a recloser is essentially a switch. And if an outage occurs on a system, what the recloser detects it. And if it is a temporary outage, like a tree branch falling across the primary, right? That's something where the recloser will then kill power to the circuit and then attempt to re-energize the circuit automatically. Okay. And so it's essentially an automatic fault detection and isolation system.
Smart.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing technology. But we're not using them. We're not getting the benefit from them that we claimed we were going to get. Right. And it's there. Okay. So the technology's there. The sensors are installed pretty much everywhere. There are some, there's variations to how modern and how technologically advanced utilities are.
Sure.
But I'm generalizing on purpose, right?
Okay.
But the technology's there and it's available. And what we need to do is use the technology the way that internet companies use these technologies, nodes, edges, reclosers, et cetera, and not.
Yeah. I mean, if you were Google or Amazon Web Services or one of these groups and you were down 11 hours a year, I feel like that's not going to be good enough.
Right. No. All tech companies, major telecom providers, et cetera, they all operate on what's called 5 nines of reliability.
Okay.
So 99.999% of the time of the minutes in a year are available and the device is doing what it's supposed to do.
Sounds damn near perfect.
Right.
That's where you got to get to, right?
Right. And in the power world, we are at 99.97, which is 100 times less reliable than in the power world, than in the internet world. And it's my position that the power world could learn a lot from the tech companies, and tech companies can learn a lot from power companies. And the way forward, the best path forward is a marriage of those practices, right? It's let's find what works best. How do we achieve, if I sell power, my goal is to make my customers happy by making sure that they have power when they need it, right? That's what I want to have happen. That should be my core goal. And anything that is not enabling that, we should be thinking about fixing, right? And so power companies are amazing. They're full of the smartest people in the world. I have nothing but warm affection for the power industry, right? So I don't want to come across, I am a bit of a contrarian. You might find that hard to believe, but my heart is with power. Sure. I want to fix it.
Well, we need it, right? It's a real thing. Let me summarize that from my perspective, if I can. It sounds like the power companies, Thomas Edison did this in the 1800s, and the tech companies have started with a blank slate and said, we're going to do it the correct way using what we know today. And it feels like there's this coming moment where we need to say, hey, just because we've always done it this way in the power industry is not necessarily the correct way moving forward. We've learned a lot from the tech companies. That said, the power companies have paved the way. They've installed lines and cables all across this country and connected all these bits and pieces. So there's a lot of wisdom, I think, to your point, to share between those two groups.
Oh, absolutely. And the grid is the power grid is the most complicated machine in the history of humanity. There has never been a more complicated machine since the Industrial Revolution and before, right? It doesn't exist. And so the solutions are going to be complicated and
messy.
Absolutely. And we're not going to get everything right.
Sure.
But I think there's a huge opportunity to take and draw from the works that, Google published their site reliability engineering books in 2016. So that's how far back we're going. This is not even new technology.
Sure.
Tech companies have been doing it since the 90s. And so what I'm proposing is a new operational paradigm that connects all of our systems together. So we no longer have silos of data where one group is working on one set of data and another team is working on a different set of data, and they may never even talk to each other.
When you say data, you mean power data, like usage data, or what do you mean by that?
I mean like metrics, for example.
Clear.
So, a vegetation team. So vegetation outages are the number one
What is
cause.
That's a tree falling on a line.
Tree falling on a line, limbs blowing,
Industry
touching.
jargon, vegetation outage.
Yes.
Wouldn't have called it that. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, vegetation outages are...
What about a squirrel? Where does that fit in? Is that a vegetation outage also?
No, that's a kamikaze squirrel. That's what we call those.
Perfect. Okay.
And
poor fella.
And so what happens in traditional legacy regulated utilities is there's a vegetation team, right? And the vegetation team has their own set of goals and metrics, and it is we want to spend X dollars on vegetation, and these are the reliability targets that we have for the vegetation team, right? The vegetation team may not ever speak to the team that's planning construction work, right? And that's where I see the issue. Yeah. I think the issue
you're getting ready to run power lines through a forest, right? Or up against a set of trees that in 5 years are going to grow into these power lines.
Absolutely.
Plan for that.
Let's have a plan.
That seems reasonable.
Let's think about it.
Yeah.
And let's use the latest in predictive modeling technology. We're going to talk about AI a lot right now, right?
Yeah.
But 5 years ago, it would cost millions of dollars to build any sort of predictive model to be able to look forward at vegetation and understand what the likelihood of a failure is going to be on a network. It would cost millions and millions of dollars. Now, with the technology now, we can spin up neural networks in 20 minutes.
Right.
I mean, I can do it myself and train the model specifically for my data. And so there's an awesome opportunity for utilities to take advantage of these things. And that's what I want to help them do.
You sent me some notes prior to this, and I was laughing. I was talking with you briefly before the show started because smart dude, you know this stuff inside and out, upside and down, and you've used a lot of terms that I don't understand, right? Like vegetation outage. That's hysterical. Couple things.
Interrupt me, brother.
A couple things that jumped out to me. And I'd just like for you to touch on these things, and then we'll get into some of the AI stuff. But you talked about storm drills, chaos engineering, protection relay testing, black start procedures. What are those? What do those things even mean?
Yeah. And so the fundamental reliability framework that I'm proposing for utilities is drawn from Google. It's called Site Reliability Engineering, SRE.
That's the thing from 2016.
Yes, that's SRE.
Okay.
And what we have right now, so reclosers, FLISR, fault location identification and service restoration, right? It's an automatic correction of an outage that occurs on a network. And this capability is only possible because of all the investments that we've made.
It finds a fault and it reroutes the fault and restarts the thing and sets it back when it's good again.
Yes, absolutely. And utilities already do those things. Utilities have that technology now. What we're missing is the fundamental orchestration layer that sits on top of all of these technologies to make them work well together in a unified system. And that's where I see SRE coming in. And so I draw parallels in my book and in a lot of the writing that I do to existing practices at utilities. Everyone in a utility knows what I mean when I say FLISR. Right?
Yeah.
What
I did not know. So thank you for clarifying.
But they don't know what automatic failover is, which is the SRE. That's the internet term for the exact same.
So you're
activity.
literally bringing these two worlds together because of your tech background and your power background.
That's the dream. Yes, sir.
Okay. That makes total sense. So these SREs have, help me walk through that a little bit. So an SRE from Google, we talked about this, is 2016 or whatever, 10 years ago. What is it doing differently? How is it looking at the world differently than, I think you used the term FLISRs or whatever? I don't really know what these terms mean. So walk me through this.
So all of these technologies exist in power right now. The ability to do everything that we're talking about from an SRE perspective, the capability is already there. It's just not systematized in a way that everything works together to add value. Okay. And so where we do have in power, a good example, would be if we think about chaos engineering, this term chaos engineering.
I don't know what that means.
Well, it's amazing. And the first person that told me about it, I thought he was insane. Actually, I had a boss from AES who joined AES from Google.
Okay.
And whenever he told me about these things, the first thing he did was he gave me these books and said, you need to learn this. Well, they were PDFs, but you need to read this and learn it. And I thought he was insane. So one of the key fundamental points is chaos engineering. And chaos engineering is intentionally breaking the system to ensure resilient response. So at Netflix, they had a thing they called the chaos monkey, which was literally a line of code they would inject into their system and watch it go crazy so that they could see in real time how the system is going to respond. If this node drops, what's going to happen, right?
So good.
Now, we can't do that in power, right?
Sure.
We can't turn off people's power. But what we can do is we can build digital twins of the network, and we can model exactly how the system is going to respond through any number of simulations, right? And so what that would look like in power is if I have a digital twin, which is exactly what it sounds like. I don't like the term, but it is a digital representation of the physics of the equipment that you have installed.
The folks at Eli Lilly talked about using these in their medicines.
Yeah, and it's kind of a buzzword that in at least in power it doesn't mean a whole lot, or it means a lot of different things. But to me, a digital twin is
a clone of
the network, right? And so the way that would work in power is if I have a full functioning digital twin of my network and I understand the physics of how the devices on my network are going to respond given a stimulus, then I can literally simulate that. I can say, okay, what happens if this recloser fails? What happens if I lose power at this section of the line? And then I can simulate and model exactly what's going to happen, how the network is going to respond. And so that's chaos engineering for power.
Okay.
We're never going to do it on live circuits. That would be irresponsible.
Sure.
People would die, right? Hospitals would lose power. It would be a problem. But what we can do is we can take those practices that they use in real time and adapt them to fit power, right? To make us better prepared for when we have problems, for whenever we do have issues.
That's really smart. The I guess my question there, it feels like some of the solutions that you're talking about here. I mean, I hate to jump to this conclusion, but this is what I talk about all day, every day. It feels like AI is having a material impact in this space, right? Being able to look at some of this stuff and at scale, right? I mean, and I think it's important for the audience to understand this. Like, AI is not some magical buzzword that just happened in the last couple of years. We've had machine learning, we've had tech, we've had big data for a long time, but we haven't been able to quickly run these iterations to this level to be able to do this sort of thing. And so walk me through, maybe I'm wrong, walk me through how AI fits into this conversation.
Well, AI is at the absolute center of it. The grid needs AI desperately.
Is that like a AES type of a company coming in and saying, hey, we're going to apply AI at our level? Is that a standardization across the industry? Is that a product level thing? I guess I just don't even understand how that would fit into the industry.
Yeah, ultimately, so the way that I view AI and the way that I use AI in my daily life, right?
And I do want to talk about that because you've sent me some stuff that I'm super excited to dig into.
But it's AI is an extender of existing capability. It's not going to be beneficial. We can't just go hire OpenAI and,
magically do this.
A power company can't just write them a check for $20 million and expect things to work well, right? There's an enormous amount of work that has to happen with data maturity and data cleansing, data governance that AI can also help with,
sure,
right? But no, the way that utilities apply AI right now, they do pretty much everywhere in various small little pockets, right? Typically at a utility, the data science team or the analytics team they'll work for the IT team, and they will be a group of people that you can call on from the operation to come help you. They're typically not fully embedded in an organization. They should be.
Sure.
I argue that.
And I'm seeing that across every industry. It's moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think it has to. And I think the reason why is I think that AI has become so accessible now and so usable for every single person, not just tech nerds like me or people who have programming backgrounds. Everyone can use these technologies now. All they need to do is be taught. Someone needs to show them. Because in my opinion, a 10-year power engineer who has been in the space, they've done the work, they understand the math, they know their networks, right? They understand it. If we can take their domain expertise and apply that to an AI solution, it's going to build something that the tech companies could never even think of, right? They can't even imagine. They don't know.
Sure.
Right? And so the barrier to entry has always been the technology. It's been literally Python programming machine learning models that people don't like doing. I don't like doing it.
Sure.
I can. It sucks. It's not fun.
It's hard to maintain. There's a lot to it. It's constant. I mean, yeah, I think that AI does change some of that stuff for sure.
Well, the barrier's completely gone now.
For sure.
So, and we see it all over the place. But ultimately, the market is super fragmented. Every state has different regulations, different requirements around how we use AI. We have federal regulations, NERC and FERC, that have very, very stiff penalties on data security, data privacy violations. We're dealing with customer data. Of course they would,
sure.
Right? And so I think that across the U.S., you have various regulatory regimes and different requirements. And so that's a problem. That creates a fundamental business misalignment.
It sure does. It's easy if you just operate in this little sandbox, but as you start to expand and you have to deal with every little county and jurisdiction and state and everything else. That's one of the, I was just in DC last week for the Axios DC conference, and they invited in some of the who's who in the zoo and AI. And the spokesperson for the White House was there talking about the National AI Action Plan policy or something.
Mm-hmm.
They basically are starting to federalize some of this stuff under the goal of, let's create a rule set that everybody can operate under so that we're not having to fight these battles on a local jurisdiction by local jurisdiction basis.
And I think that's very necessary. So I'm at my core, I'm a libertarian.
Sure.
And so it pains me to say what I'm getting ready to say to you, but that's a good thing.
It's funny because I feel the same way. I hate government telling me what to do. And I think a lot of people listening to this probably feel the same way, but it's one of those scenarios where if there isn't some leadership on this issue, everyone does what they want. And as someone who's been working in e-commerce for 15, 20 years, California's rules are very different than Indiana's. We had a lawsuit filed against us. My board game store here in Indiana had a lawsuit filed against us because our website was not ADA compliant. A blind person could not make an order on our website. And we want to service everybody, but nobody called, nobody asked. They just tried to order on our website. And what I found out was in a certain jurisdiction inside of New York City in the Bronx, there is a litigious attorney there who's actively trying to come after shops like ours who aren't big enough to have a full-time attorney on staff, who don't want to spend thousands of dollars hiring an attorney, but clearly have enough dollars to pay a settlement. And it cost me like $8,000 out of pocket because I got sued. And that's what you see though, without any kind of real federal regulation against it. These local jurisdictions create whatever rules they have in local. This isn't to litigate the, judicial system, right? Or the enforcement system. But I'm with you. I think that I don't want that, but I also feel like we need something.
Yeah. And also as much as I love technology and as much as I love, Anthropic and Claude, OpenAI, I use them every day. I don't think that Sam Altman should be making decisions around the safety of AI technology.
Sure.
I think we need regulation. I think this is a very, very powerful technology. It's also very, very dangerous in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
And I think that some federal oversight, as much as I hate to say it pragmatically, I think it's the only path forward. I think we need federal safety guidelines. We need these things so that we can all build. Give us the box that we can work in.
Yep.
And let's go.
Yeah, but I also would push back on that. Well, we're probably saying the same thing, but I don't want Sam Altman making those decisions unilaterally or Anthropic or any of these groups. I also don't want Pete Hegseth or Donald Trump making those decisions unilaterally, right? I think there needs to be some challenge to this process. And what I'm seeing as I go to these big conferences and hear from these world leaders, the public's starting to push back a little bit. The public is starting to say, hey, this is great and it's cool and it's moving fast, but also we're a little worried that maybe the horse is running away without the cart in some places, right?
Absolutely. And it's both thrilling and exciting and also a little bit terrifying.
Sure.
And I agree. I think the democratic process needs to work, right? I think we need, some sort of federal legislation that regulates AI safety.
Yep.
and AI implementation. And this is probably the only instance I can't think of anything else right now that I would say that about. My answer is never we need a law for that. It's never that, right? It's always we need a market for that.
Well, that's because it's moving too fast. And I've interviewed attorneys on here before, and the legal system's never going to catch up. Tech's always going to move faster, right? And innovation is moving at a speed you and I have never seen, no one's ever seen before. And so it's really hard to play catch up or whack-a-mole in that way. I was encouraged to hear at this last event that I went to, a couple of senators and a congresswoman all talked about how they're starting to lean in ways they hadn't in the past. I think that social media in specifically kind of beat them to the punch, right? Social media just did what it did, and legislators didn't understand it. It just went out and took over, and boom, here it is. Now we're living with it, and we're just now feeling the repercussions of the anxiety and the depression and some of the things that we can now confirm that it's caused, right?
Oh, it's real.
And so I'm encouraged in the conversations I've had with leaders at the federal level that they understand this is a problem earlier in the process than they did for social media. Still not convinced they're going to be able to fix it in real time, but I think they're at least having the conversations that in some cases were delayed years or even decades from the social media conversation.
Yeah, that's awesome. And they need to happen. You know, we all see stories of, you know, people online talking to these chat GPT as if it's their best friend, as if it's a person, or as if it has a soul, which is horribly, horribly misguided. But people can be manipulated by these technologies and the algorithms and model weightings that determine how an LLM is going to respond to someone typing are very, very similar to the way social media feeds you content to keep you engaged.
That's right.
It can tell you what it thinks you want to hear.
Sure.
And that is terrifying.
That's very real. Let's do this, Adam. I want to pivot a little bit. So you have worked for some of the biggest power companies. You've worked in the industry that's like the most powerful industry, pun intended. And now you are running your own thing. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about how you are using AI today. One of the things I've really loved about our offline conversations is that you're building with this stuff. You're not just chatbotting, you're actually building. And so I'd like to challenge you to walk our audience through what you're building, how you're building it. You know, a lot, and let me caveat this. A lot of our people aren't, right? The people listening to this aren't familiar with OpenClaw and automation and this sort of stuff. They've heard of it. But I want them to hear from you in real time what you've been working on this week. Like, what are you actively doing and what are you learning along the way?
Yeah. So some of the projects that I'm working on right now. So one, I've got a website, sgridworks.com. And on that website, I've created a machine learning playground for power engineers. So essentially what I've done is taken all of the important analytics, forecasting, et cetera, and built models that any power engineer, it's all open source, it's all free. Anyone can go get and take and then apply to their utility.
So it's almost like a fake digital twin type of scenario where they could pull it down and start banging against it.
Yeah, I created an entire fake utility. So we've got
That's wild.
Yeah, we've got just over a couple 100,000 customers, several circuits of a fictional utility that anyone can use to model on without violating any data security rules. It's all fake data.
Sure.
Right? It's all synthetic.
Sure. And
so I did that really as a way to try to start the discussion, to spark interest. And it's been amazing. I've had people from Purdue University, the University of Texas in Austin have reached out, EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute is EPRI, just reached out yesterday wanting to talk about how we can use these things. So that's just an open source fun thing that I did, but it was an extreme amount of work. It was, it was probably, 10,000 lines of code total.
Sure.
And for someone who up until 4 months ago had probably written 5,000 lines of code in my entire life, in the month of February, I've written probably 1 million.
Sure.
I can check my GitHub and find out. But what I'm doing is I'm building sGridworks. That's the foundation. The website is meant to be a hub for people in power to come and learn, right? To come and learn and hopefully spark some interest. Hopefully someone will be interested in what I have to say and call me, right? That's the dream. Other things that I'm working on are behind the meter optimization for data centers. So with data centers right now, we're out of power, right? We're out of transmission capacity right now. The data center boom, we've already found this point.
So slow down for me.
Yes, sir.
That's a very concerning stat to hear. What does that mean? We're out of power. That's a bold statement.
Yeah, what that means is that the amount of time that it takes to build new transmission capacity to serve data centers is decades. It's 10 years to build this, and we need the technology quicker. We need these data centers now for society. Like it's a matter of national security that we lead AI globally. It is. That's the way that I view it. And so what's happening now is there are a lot of developers that are struggling to find locations where the power is accessible to feed these data centers. So what they're then doing is considering generation options. So if I build generation on site, that's what behind the meter means, right? So if we build the generation on site to support this data center, what does that need to look like? How much is it going to cost? What's the reliability?
And what are reasonable solutions there? I mean, I've heard that wind and solar aren't super reliable, or at least at the scale you need them to be, unless they're in the desert or in parts of mountain ranges or whatever. Nuclear is a conversation I hear a lot about, but I don't really understand how realistic that is. I've heard a lot of politicians talk about it. I've heard a lot of news stories on the topic. If I'm a data center and I'm building generation on site, what does that mean?
Yeah. So right now, the most common technology are just reciprocating gas engines. So these are very, very simple, 1960s, 70s technology generators that are available.
You're literally pouring gas into an engine, like in your car, and it's generating power, and that power is going into the grid.
Well, natural gas. So you tie into a natural gas pipeline and feed them that way.
But it's an engine in that similar way, where it's taking the combustion or whatever it is in that moment and creating it. Okay. And
so for smaller sites, 5 to 100 megawatts, those the economics make sense for those types of engines. For these huge utility scale monsters that require 300 or 2,000 megawatts of power, it's combined cycle gas technology. So CCGT is essentially a large gas combustion turbine that the waste heat is captured to boil water and run through another cycle. So instead of it being a single cycle of combustion, you get it both ways. So AES Eagle Valley is a GE Frame 7 CCGT, the best technology in the world, right? It is. And so it's a mix. And it really is finding what works for the site, for the local fuel supply, for the tariff market that you happen to be in, for the wholesale market for power, depending on which system operator you're under. And there's a mix of all the above. I think solar is amazing. And I think solar is probably the largest part of the answer to me long-term with storage. So with storage, solar, their capacity factors, their total production is 20 to 30%, right? That's, net production. It's efficiency production. Whereas, so they're not capable of generating power when it's dark, right? But what you can do is you can store that power, right? And you can handle the peaks and valleys of power supply and sun supply or UV radiation with batteries. And I think that's the one that excites me the most today.
It makes total sense to me. As someone who doesn't understand anything about this, it's like, why aren't we doing this? Makes total sense.
Yeah.
And I know the answer to that question right now is a lot of it's political, and a lot of it is based in this is an unfair statement, but the NIMBY worldview, right?
Absolutely.
Which is like, I don't want this in my backyard. I've seen that play out here in the state of Indiana, where people are like, I don't want a solar farm in my community, right? And I get it. I don't want a landfill next to my house either, right? But at the same time, I mean, there is a conversation to be had about national security and the greater good and those sorts of things.
Yeah, we live in a democratic society, and as much as my libertarian bones hate to say this, we do have an obligation. Like, we are part of the most amazing country in the history of the world. And if the United States staying the most amazing country in the history of the world requires me to have a solar farm or a small modular reactor, nuclear reactor that are totally safe, by the way, in my backyard, then...
So you'd put one in your backyard?
Absolutely.
I would too.
No problem.
I would too.
No problem.
Yeah, I think I think about this, and it's like, no one wanted power lines and light poles out at the end of their property running from house to house to house, but daggone, it's nice having power, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Right? And it's nice to not just stop at my house. It's nice to send it to my neighbors also.
Oh, for sure.
Keep going down the road. And so that's that's really the conversation we're having here. And it's a matter of, uncomfortableness, I think, on a personal level to serve the greater good. But man, we also live in a world where it's my property, it's my land, it's my thing. I get it. These are hard conversations.
Yeah. And part of what's so beautiful about the power industry is that it was designed with a socialized view of monopoly control of an area, right? And so what I mean by that is
socialized monopoly. That's good.
It truly is. It truly is. If you think about it, whenever we started electrification in the United States and when it continued on through the 1970s, it's not possible. There's not enough demand on a rural circuit out in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, with one house at the end of a long feed.
Sure.
If we were relying only on their ability to pay for the construction of that line, it would never happen.
Yeah.
It would never happen.
Yeah, makes total sense.
And so what happens is we socialize the cost, we socialize the benefit of power in a specified geographic region, right? And it works. And while, like I said, politically it pains me to say that, but it's a system that does work and works really well. And I think that we can capitalize on that. I really do. I think that we can use that to our advantage to make sure that every single person who's covered by a utility and a network is experiencing the same level of service and support across the board, right? And that's how I define equity in power, right? People talk about equity a lot. Equity to me in the power world is, do all of our customers get the same benefit? And do they have the same costs? Are they being treated fairly? Do they all get to benefit from what we're providing?
This effort.
Yeah.
I see that in the broadband community too. I mean, they're struggling to get broadband to all parts of the country and all parts of the state. And, the state of Indiana is trying to do that. I think power is a little more ubiquitous and it exists in places. Broadband's slowly but surely coming. And I have totally different thoughts on that too. But I think that's a real thing for communities to consider. Here's what I'd like to do, Adam. You talked about your website and your open data source kind of digital twin model for power engineers to come play with, right? What else are you doing with AI?
I mean, everything that I'm doing in my daily life is touching.
What does that look
AI
like? What are you doing in the last week? What have you done that's in AI in your digital life?
That's great. So last week, my wife and I were considering buying a business in Adams County, Ohio.
Perfect.
And so what I did was I used AI to build the entire financial model that I would use to understand cash flows in this business that I could use for funding and financing.
Yeah.
And so, that's one use. But essentially, we're buying a very, very large business with the output that was designed and built and ran through Claude, right? That's what we did. I'm using a series of agents and agent orchestration, so this is kind of the absolute cutting edge of AI technologies right now that are managing an autonomous trading system for me.
Wait a minute. So this is like the bots are doing stock trading for you.
That's correct.
Okay, slow down a second. I think people that hear that are probably scared to death. What does that mean?
So essentially what we've got, and this is brand new technology.
I've seen some like clickbaity type stuff on the social channels about this, right? Click here to automatically trade and become a zillionaire.
Yeah.
It feels too good to be true. I'm sure it is.
It is.
So why is yours different? What have you learned?
So a few things. If someone is giving you their alpha or their secrets for trading
for $9.99 a month
on Twitter, don't listen.
That's
right?
fair.
You are providing liquidity to those people if you follow that model, right? So so what I did was I set up a series of bots that are predicting price changes in Bitcoin, Solana. Those are the two big ones. So I'm looking at 5 and 15-minute crypto markets and trying to predict whether the price is going to increase or decrease in the next 15 minutes, and then buying puts and calls on that.
Okay.
And so it's not something that generates tons of money. I mean, I'm probably at a 53% win rate today, but I'm running through thousands of iterations, constantly retraining the models every night, and they get better every single day.
So here's my question to that. If you're able to do that at home by yourself, why isn't JP Morgan doing this or every big company? And maybe they are.
They
right?
are.
And so, I mean, does this democratize stock investing? Does this fundamentally blow up markets? Like, man, what happens in this moment?
I think that markets are going to change. I think that where we are right now is the average retail investor has access to advanced modeling and tools that hedge funds have been using for 20 years.
Sure.
And instead of having to have $1 million supercomputer in a lab on the New York Stock Exchange, these things can now be ran completely on the cloud. And so I have no idea where it's going to go. And I have no idea, honestly, long term, whether it's a viable moneymaker or not. I think probably not. I think as soon as it takes off and becomes ubiquitous, it'll be regulated.
Everyone's doing it, right? And then and then you're going to run into the bad actors that are injecting bad data into the system to, I mean, in my little analog version of this world for buying and selling Pokemon cards, there are people who, cheat the system on an eBay listing, basically list it low and then buy it themselves so that the market price of that card comes down and then they buy up everybody else's.
Absolutely.
And so you're going to see bad actors like that in this world also.
And I think it's already happening. I think that there are a lot of bad actors who are trying to sucker people into giving them money for things that are never going to work. But the cool thing is we don't have to take their word for it.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I can do if I'm on X and I see someone posting this crazy methodology that says they made $20 million on the stock market, right? Well, we can back test it. I have access to all of that data. Everyone does now, right? And so what we can do is take the exact trades they made, disaggregate from those trades what their strategy is, and then apply that to historical data to see if that's real or not real. And anyone can do those things. We don't have to take their word for it anymore. It's actually really easy to do. And so for me, it's more of a research experiment. It's not something that I think I'm going to make a bunch of money on. I mean, if I make a couple $100 on it, I'll be happy. Yeah. But we're talking 5-10 cent trades, hundreds of trades a day at 5-10 cents to see if there's opportunity to make money in arbitrage.
If you're listening to this and you're just flat out overwhelmed right now, you can tell how Adam's brain works. He is like the smartest guy in the room and working on big things. So this world of AI just has to be glorious for you.
It is. It's the greatest thing. This is the best time in the history of humanity to be unemployed. I know I told you that at lunch, and I mean it. Not having a full-time job right now has been amazing because the technologies are advancing. New things are being built every day. Claude, Anthropic is on an absolute tear right now.
I've loved it. I use it. Probably 10 hours a day.
Absolutely. They're coming for everybody. Mm-hmm. They're releasing new features every day that I would have paid hundreds of dollars for 6 months ago, and they're free.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's not free. It comes with a subscription,
sure.
But it's absolutely amazing. And so, yeah, all of this capability now, I feel like what's happened with me is specifically in my business to go back to power.
Yeah.
Right? I've been in power. I've lived there for 20 years of my life. This is what I love. I'm the biggest power nerd I know.
You're the biggest power nerd I know too.
Yeah, good. I mean, I love it. That's great. But I always had ideas and always knew how things work. And I understand math, right? But what I lacked was the ability to execute on these ideas. And that's what AI does now. You
didn't have a team of engineers working for you on whatever pet project like trading Bitcoin that you
That's correct.
have, right? And now you just have them and you just tell them go and they just go. And now you're using it to buy businesses in other states and do all these. So here's what I want to ask, I guess. For the listeners, there's Claude Cowork, right? A lot of our people have used ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot or whatever their companies kind of require them to use or whatever. When I started talking about AI, a lot of people didn't know what agentic even meant. It was really funny when I pitched this podcast idea to the IBJ, the publisher said, I don't know what agentic is. And I said, you will. And he messaged me a month later and said, dude, I'm hearing this term everywhere. I said, yeah, because that's where we're headed. So talk to me about the agent side of this for you. Like, what are you doing using these? You mentioned Claude Cowork, but I know for a fact you're doing some other stuff. What's that look like?
Oh yeah. So at my house right now, my main setup, and this is how accessible things are. I have 2 Mac Minis, which are
$600.
$600, nothing fancy. 2 Mac Minis that are connected with a $50 Thunderbolt cable, and I run local AI models on those minis. And an entire suite of agent employees is what I call them. So there's kind of 3 levels of agentic autonomy that I think of, because they are employees and they require correction and management. It's not just, they don't just do things for you, right? And there's kind of 3 levels that I think about in practice and putting all this together. So we have, tool-assisted agents. These are agents that are helping to write code. They're writing small sections of code and that I'm then reviewing, and we go back and forth, right? There's a human in the loop on every step. So the AI then is just a tool. It's just like a pocket knife to me at that point, right? Or a ruler. And then we have like semi-autonomous agents, which are agents that have very, very tightly defined scopes of work that are triggered on a timeline. We call those cron jobs or scheduled jobs in the AI world. And those are where my main orchestration agent is going to send a message to my trading agent. And it's going to say, okay, go look at Bitcoin. 5 minutes have passed. Go look at the Bitcoin spot price, right?
All that thing does is goes and gets the spot price.
That's it. It's a very, very
So there's
simple.
another conductor agent over here that's saying, go do this.
Yes.
Just giving it a task.
Yep.
And it goes and does the one thing it knows how to do, and it comes back.
Yes. And then when it comes back with whatever the piece of data it is, then the orchestrator, I call it my CEO, but yeah, I'm into it.
I love it.
It's not
This is great.
healthy.
Keep going.
I'm deep. I'm deep. But the orchestrator is then delivering, the agent is then delivering results back to the CEO that says, look what I did, boss. So this is what you told me to do. These were the instructions that you gave me.
Here's the results.
This is what I gave you. And then the orchestrator is then looking at the delta between the instructions that it gave and the results that it received. And the entire time, it's also improving its instruction set. So it's saying, this was my expected result. This was the result that I got. How can we improve the coordination process in real time in a way that makes those results, my expectation match reality, or reality match my expectation?
Yep.
So that's happening in real time, fully autonomously. I don't have to do anything. We're automatically looking for those mismatches, right? And then autonomous work is where we have multi-agents working completely independent of each other and then coming back together under an orchestration layer to then combine and compile all of their work into one.
Imagine having a manager, 3 or 4 people that work for that manager. You give the task to the manager goes and deals with all the work and then comes back to you and says, hey boss, me and the team did this for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you treat them like employees. And the thing is
I think that's really weird for a lot of our listeners.
Yeah.
Right. I think you and I get that pretty instantly because I'm not physically attached. Like if my Mac Mini catches on fire, that's okay. I'll just buy another one. Right. This isn't an actual human being, but it is mentally easier to understand and compute if you think about it that way.
Yeah, my wife thinks I'm crazy too.
Sure.
But I think about it in terms of an org chart. So if we think about, I come from the corporate world and with all of its awesomeness and problems, but I think about it in terms of an org chart where, there's an organizational structure in any organization in Moonshot Games. There's an organizational structure that you have in place for the implicit goal of accomplishing your goal. What is it? What are you trying to get done? So you've designed this system for Moonshot that says, this is how we're going to run this business. This is the organization that is required. These are the skills that I need, the type of people that I need, and these are the instructions that I'm going to give them, the procedures, the SOPs, right? You have to do that to have an effective business. Right. Otherwise, it would just be absolute chaos out there.
And sometimes it is.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the same thing with AI agents.
Sure.
Because they can hallucinate. They can do stupid things. And so, the most important thing to me is we start small, right? Okay. We start, anyone who's interested in getting into this space, who wants to learn, I would start small. I would, the most important, impactful thing that I've done as far as quality of life improvements for me go is I don't check email anymore. I don't ever check my email at all anymore. What I do is I have an agent that goes and reads my emails, prioritizes them for me, and drafts responses for the ones that are important, throws away the ones that aren't important, and then sends me a Telegram message that says, I received this message.
Telegram is a texting tool,
just
basically.
a text app. Yep. I didn't know what Telegram was until I got into Agent AI. I never done it. It's apparently a big messaging platform.
It is. Yep.
But Discord is another one, gaming. You can message via iMessage if I want. But
well, importantly, you're looking at it through the lens of how do I want to commit. I think that's the biggest thing for AI for me as I talk to people is you don't have to learn how to use the tools the way they exist today and what you're comfortable with. You don't have to go to gmail.com and log into your web browser on your desktop. If you prefer to get a text message, build that.
Absolutely. And that's something that someone could spin up in a couple hours. You could go from nothing.
And let's dig into that. So people ask me how. Great, cool. You're a tech guy. It's easy, whatever. My answer to that, and maybe you agree or disagree, is today, I wouldn't have said this 6 months ago. Today, it's go install Claude, pay the $20 a month, click on the co-work tab, and there are a list of 100 ideas right there. You can get a daily briefing every day that reads your email and your Slack and all of these things and gives you a daily briefing in about 5 minutes with zero technical understanding.
Zero. And you don't even, all you have to do is pay the $20, get a Claude subscription, and then just ask Claude to do it for you.
That's right. You
don't even have to know where to check. Just log in and say, Claude, I want to automate my emails. How can you help me? And Claude will do it. Claude will find a way.
I think people are very uncomfortable with that. I have talked to so many people who are not technical, who are business leaders, who are running their daily lives, right? And it feels like I have to go back to college to learn how to do these things. And that's why they don't start. And I hear from people every single day saying, oh my God, because you showed me how to do this, it's saving me an hour a day, 2 hours a day, 4 hours a day. That's a very, very real thing.
Same thing. And what's interesting with AI now and with this phase that we're in is that the people who think they need to go back to college to gain the most, instead of spending the last 20 years learning AI and development and 4 different programming languages, which is what it would take to be able to do this now, what they have is real expertise and experience. So those are the people that are going to gain the most from using AI.
That's right.
And that's this interesting merger that I keep talking about is, and there's hundreds of examples. There's a guy here in Indianapolis, right here locally, who is a union electrician.
Okay.
And a super fascinating story to this guy. His name is Jason Walls. He's the founder of ChargeRight is the name of his app. And this guy is local to Indianapolis. He's an IBEW union electrician, and he recognized a problem in the world. And it was, he was going out to install EV chargers in people's homes.
Yeah, you buy a Tesla, you need to plug it in.
You got to have a charger. But what he found was that according to National Electric Code, the vast majority of people who were installing upgraded services, thousands of dollars, $3,000 to $5,000 to put a new service in your home.
Did that at my house, yep.
70% of them don't actually need them to be code compliant.
Should have called him first.
Well, yeah. And so what he did as an electrician, someone who's making money to install these, right? That's how he's making his living. He said, there's a problem. How can we solve it? And he used Claude to build an app that has now been picked up by, like, Mark Cuban is tweeting about it. And his entire life has changed in the last 2 months just because he asked Claude, how do I build an app? Right? How do I do this?
Not a software developer,
Zero.
Literally a union electrician.
That's correct. Zero.
And he found that 70% of EV owners don't need upgrades?
That's correct.
Man, that's a life hack right there.
Absolutely.
Like, what a wild answer.
So he built an app that you can purchase, and you can use this app to analyze your panel to tell you if what the charging installer is telling you is actually accurate or not. And I'm not sure what he charges. I think it's like $13 or something. It's worth it. Whatever it is,
more
it's
than
worth
the $4,000 to install the thing.
Yeah, but all that to say, this is someone with zero tech experience. I mean, electricians are very smart people and they work very hard, but their skills are not Python. They're not programming in Rust. They don't even know.
But he has institutional knowledge. He has, the point you made was he has the knowledge around the industry, his career. Right? He knows electricity. He knows that part of the equation. And that prompted him to help unpack this actual core problem for people.
Well, yeah. And his barrier to entry was never his expertise or his good ideas or his willingness to want to help people. He already had that, right? What he was missing was, how do I do it?
I don't have a software team. I don't know how to scope a project. Now it's a laptop and a Claude Code subscription, $20.
Yeah. And it's running right now. So the website, let me shout it out real quick.
Please.
This guy's fascinating.
Please.
It's www.evchargeright.com.
Right as an RIGHT.
RIGHT,
Yep.
yes, sir.
How cool. I'm going to check it out for sure.
Yeah. Jason Walls, local here to Indianapolis. He'd probably be on the show if you reached out to him. But
how'd you do this?
Yeah, super fascinating.
What else? We're getting close to time here. What else do you want our audience to hear and know of all the stuff that you and I have kind of bantered about over time? If you could leave them with something, I guess, what else is that? And then I do have one final question for you after you answer this one.
Yeah. The technology is advancing at an insane rate. We've never seen anything like this in our lives, probably ever. AI is bigger than the printing press. And I'm a Reformed Christian, so that means a lot to me. I don't say that lightly, is the point. It's bigger than the printing press, and there is a unique opportunity right now for people who have expertise and experience plus curiosity to take advantage of these tools and build amazing, beautiful things. And so what I would say to the audience is right now, the time to learn these is right now.
You don't have to know anything. You don't have to have a college degree. You install the software, ask it what to do.
Yes, that's it. Install the software, ask it how to help you. Ask it how to keep your data secure. If you're concerned about data privacy, which we could go on a very long tangent about that. Spoiler alert, it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as data privacy right now. I wish there was, but the fact of the matter is just ask the agent to help you and see what you can do. So a little bit of curiosity, $20 a month. It's entirely possible that someone with the gumption could change their entire lives.
Let me push one button on that topic, and then I'll go to my final question. So one of the things I love about being in Indiana is that we're here to help people, right? Hoosiers, Midwest hospitality, Hoosier hospitality is we love to help people. You and I both think of our agents as team members, even though they're clearly just lines of software code in a box, right? It's not a human being. We both know that.
Yeah.
But we talk about them like that. One of the biggest mental shifts is how do we get everyday John Q user, everyday average Hoosiers to get over the hump of thinking this is some tool I have to know the right buttons to click and the right words to use, right? Without offending them. So one of the things I hear is like, I'm not comfortable asking it that question because it's offensive. It's like, no, it's a robot. It's not a human. You're not going to upset it. Like,
right.
You can be dumb and you can say, I don't know how to use you. What do I do? In those exact words.
Yes.
And it'll say, well, what don't you understand? How can I help you? This is what I can do. Here's some options. Like, man, it'll just go.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And on the feelings thing. So I'm weirded out by that. I'm weirded out by AI agents that have personalities. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things that I did is I've taken all personality out of all of my AI agents. I don't want them. We're different
there. My guy, my dude's named Jarvis.
Oh my goodness. I had one and this is funny back to the authentic piece. I'll tell you a funny mistake that I made. I had installed an agent that I installed as a template from someone that I was followed on GitHub or something. I can't remember where, but I downloaded it and it had split personalities. And so I made this mistake where it had natively installed some sort of an anime character, super kind of like passive and neurotic personality that I didn't catch when I installed this agent. And then I put what I thought I wanted its personality to be, which was kind of a adversarial review super nerd is what I wanted, right? Okay. And so what happened was it got something wrong, and I said that's completely wrong and stupid, and it went into this panic spiral where it's apologizing to me for getting it wrong.
That's wild.
And then the next chat from it is ripping me for me not giving it good instructions.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, I don't like personalities in my AI things. I just want them to give me the data. I don't want it to be my friend.
And just tell it that. If you're new to this, just tell it that. Look, we're not. Help me understand how I can use you. I don't need you to be my buddy. I just need you to help me check my emails.
Yeah.
All right. I just need you to help me manage my schedule.
Yeah, we're not friends.
That's right.
You're not going to be my friend. I'm not going to have some sort of weird.
Building those guardrails is important, right? It's pretty easy to.
Oh yeah.
To make sure, and it becomes sycophantic. It definitely wants to parrot you and follow you and make you feel. Every time I ask it something, it's like, Jason, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard in the history of ideas. I'm like, well, you're welcome, right? Yeah, you're right.
Well, and that's what they're designed to do.
Sure.
It's like a social media algorithm, right? Of course, it's going to make you feel good. And so the way that you get around that, though, is you have to. That requires like personal discipline.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It's as soon as I realize that my AI that Claude is telling me what I want to hear because it's going to make me feel good and keep me engaged, I have to trigger something in my brain that says, rip it apart now.
Yeah.
So I know you've said it's a good idea. Tell me everything that's wrong with this idea. And I'll use Grok for this too. So if I have something that I think is the best idea in the world that I've been working on with Claude, I'll take it to Grok or ChatGPT. And I'll actually say, I was working with Claude on this idea. We need to rip it apart. Tell me every possible way it can fail and everything that's wrong with it.
Yep.
And it will.
I saw a news story yesterday that Microsoft is starting to do some of that, where inside of Copilot, they're hitting Claude and ChatGPT in cross-referencing. I think you're going to see some of that. I think you're going to see some multimodal, multi-frontier model stuff that kind of fact checks and validates. Final question for you, Adam.
Lay it on me, boss.
I ask every guest this question. State of the world today. You're clearly an optimistic guy. You're moving fast as the technology is. I love that. What is it that you're worried about? What keeps you up at night when we think about the speed of the world, about how AI is impacting our culture, our environment, our job force? Like, what is it that's making you pause and say, oh boy, we got a big problem ahead of us?
Okay. So this is a two-part answer. So one, I'm going to tell you what I'm super excited about that most people are afraid of.
Okay.
And that's jobs.
Okay.
So you hear a lot of noise around AI is going to take jobs and it's going to take away artists' work or copywriters and those kind of things. I think that's completely absurd. I think that's a reductionist mindset. And I think that approaching it that way is actually very dangerous. And people did this. The Luddites did the exact same thing with weaving limbs, right? And at the end of the day, I don't think anyone should be afraid of their jobs. I think that if you are an artist right now, if I'm an artist, and I'm not, I have zero artistic talent. If I'm an artist right now and I see AI art, instead of looking at that as a threat to me, I should see that as another vehicle for me to apply my vision, my creativity, my talent, all of these things that I have that I've worked on for 20 years as an artist. How can AI make that better? How can I use AI to make me a better artist? How many secretaries change their jobs as a result of Excel? Right. And that was a good thing. Microsoft Excel was a net positive for humanity. It was a huge improvement in productivity. And I think AI is going to be the same. So I think it's fantastic that AI is going to change our jobs. AI is not going to take our jobs. We have to manage it. We have to learn. But it's going to extend our capability 10, 50x.
Yeah.
So that's one. Everyone worried about jobs. We should not be.
Okay.
We should have an abundance mindset, and the opportunities that are being created here are there for people who are willing to take them. Now, the people who don't engage, the people who become Luddites and say, I'm not going to use this technology, be interested, you're going to get left behind.
That's right.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, you stick your head in the sand, it's going to pass you by.
Absolutely. And so I'm very optimistic about that. Okay. I think that AI is going to have it's already having an amazing impact on productivity in tons of industries and in my life. And I think that I'm of slightly above average IQ, not very far. And if I can do it, anybody can. So we should be leaning in. Everyone should lean in. Don't worry about your job. Think about how AI can help you make your job better, right? Think about how you can use AI to make money with the skills that you know from your job that tech companies don't know. There are ways to do it. So that's one. I'm super optimistic on the jobs front. What I am afraid of is cybersecurity.
Okay.
I am concerned with the quality of code that can come out of these agents, where if you don't know how to build an app, you may not have the proper set of authorizations, the proper cybersecurity setups. And so because it's so easy to build and ship things now, it's really easy to build good things, but it's just as easy to build horrible things that aren't going to work. And so that's one of the things that does concern me. And I think eventually AI plus quantum computing is going to crack encryption. And whenever 256-bit encryption is cracked, everything that we know about cybersecurity and how we keep our data secure in the world is gone. It must be rethought.
Wow, I don't know if you've really given thought to that.
Yeah, that's what scares me.
Sure.
I don't know how quickly that's going to happen.
So it's a double-sided envelope. It's the builders that are creating using these tools, like Claude Design as an example, right? And there's a difference between having it check your emails and having it log into your bank accounts.
Correct.
Right? Those are very different use cases. And so your point is let's be cognizant and thoughtful about what we're exposing to these AI tools until the security catches up with some of it. But then on the flip side of that, you're also suggesting that because of AI and quantum at some point, like the world we know today in terms of data privacy and security is at risk.
100%.
I haven't given that much thought at all.
That's what scares me.
Well, it should. It scares me too, now that you said it.
I'm a utility guy. I care about keeping data secure, right? That's it's like paramount in my mind. But that is what scares me. And I think that, these tools that are available to you and I and to my grandma and whoever, those same amazing superpowers that you have, bad people also have.
That's right.
And they will find ways. We talked about bad actors and market manipulation. Mm-hmm. They'll find ways to use those same superpowers for evil. And that concerns me. And I also don't trust large AI companies to manage their own safety.
Well, as a libertarian, you don't trust anything big.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Adam Brown, thank you so much for taking time with me today. Final piece here. How do people find you if they want to follow you?
Yeah. So my website is sgridworks.com. S is in Sisyphean, gridworks.com.
Wait, Sisyphean? That's the S we talked about at the very beginning.
Absolutely.
So what is that, real quick?
Yeah. So the Greeks got it wrong. And so everyone's heard the myth of Sisyphus is, this person who was punished to roll a boulder up a hill all day, every day. And then at night, the gods would punish him by rolling the boulder back down the hill, and he would start again and do this thing over and over again. So the traditional Greek philosophical definition of Sisyphean is a task that is never ending and arduous, and it hurts, and it's just not fun. It's generally negative, right? It's a negative thing. And then in 1942, Albert Camus, who is one of my favorite authors in the history of the world, he wrote a short story called The Myth of Sisyphus. And in this myth, he imagines Sisyphus as an honorable character, as someone who is happy and finding meaning in the struggle, in this constant grind of rolling the rock up the hill.
Yeah.
And by perfecting the way that we roll the rock up the mountain, we can find true meaning and joy. And I think that's what's going on in power right now. It's never going to stop changing. As soon as we think we've got it figured out, new technologies are going to come in and we're going to have to start all over again. And so I chose Sisyphean as kind of a call to action. It's, hey guys, the work is never going to end. It is hard. It's never going to stop.
Find some joy in it.
And it's at times thankless,
yeah.
Right? But we should find joy in it. We should find our meaning in the struggle, in the work. And so that's where Sisyphean comes from. So
love it. So sgridworks.com. They can find you there. Any other places they can reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm on X at Adam D. Brown. Feel free to come over there and see some slightly unhinged AI takes. But that's really it. That's it. So reach out anytime.
Perfect. Love it. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks.
Cheers. Thank you again to my friend Adam Brown. What a cool conversation. This guy is all energy with a ton of brains, right? It's so cool to see kind of that worldview. You saw it firsthand. You listened to it firsthand. He's looking at the world differently. He sees the what ifs and the why nots. And he's applying that to places that honestly need to be disrupted. We need more people like Adam Brown. We need more people like Megan Glover, if you went back and listened to her episode, who's challenging the water industry in a very similar way. These are people that are building tomorrow instead of just doing it the same way we've always done it. And I think, honestly, guys, as we look into where this world is headed, these are the types of folks. Adam is the type of person that we need to have out in front, charging down the path. And so thanks again to Adam for coming on. Really appreciate you, my friend. Not entirely sure what we have recording for next week. We've got a whole bunch of stuff queued up right now. We're really focused on the Mira Awards this weekend. I'm going to be setting up, doing a studio space there, and interviewing a ton of people in a rapid fire session. And I had to get dressed up. And so that's not really a normal thing for me. I'll probably still wear my hat backwards because that's just what I do. But yeah, look forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun at the Mira Awards. Hopefully I'll see you there. If you do see me, come say hi. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week.